Well, it seems it's that time of the year again, beardlings. When the days get darker ever so much faster, and the nights grow ever more darker, and the very cold of the earth seems to seep into your beard and bones. But nay, it is not all dreary and frightful, for we still have friends, hot plum helmet roast, and ale to boast, but most importantly, my dear dwarves, we have a good tall tale to yell from the rooftops. It is with this I'd like to regale you of the little-known fortress known as Corsid Zuden Ishan, or Festive Keepers, the Good. It started with 7 dwarves so merry, Zephon so bright and jolly, Obak, a practical chimney of drunken carols, Atir, eyes so alight with cheer, Urvad, toy maker extraordinaire, Cattle, so bold yet humble, and Id, the old Yuletide wanderer, and last but not least, Einod, the fateful gift giver. These 7 dwarves would travel far from their deep mountain homes to the south. The trek was dangerous and fraught with peril. They passed many great scenes of nature and of man, and dwarf, and even elf, and goblin, till they reached the great tundra named the Frost of Nooses. It was here that they would have many great usages of the resources native to the tundra, which they planned to use to produce toys for all the good little children of the land of the momentous realm. Once they arrived, the dwarves did not dilly or dally, and soon dug right into the frozen ocean. Soon they striked earth and tunneled out their future toy shop. Festive Keepers would be a place of joy, kinship, toys, place where all races could come and make merry. Of course, some were less open to the concept of it than the dwarves, such as the elephant sealmen, native to the land, who scoffed and snorted at such things, and tried to sour the hopes of our poor dwarves. However, the dwarves would not be deterred by the trumpeting of such hogwash, and soon the sealmen went their way, trumpeting into the frigid air at the dwarves' foolish ideals. Next came a tribe of polar bear men, who seemed much more curious of the dwarves' tidings within the frigid tundra of the Frost of Nooses. The dwarves told the polar bear people of their plot to make toys and spread jolly. The bears looked confused and wandered off into the snow. Secretly, they hoped and prayed that the naive dwarves would die a quick death and they could return before the year's end and steal all their stuff. The mountain homes down south were in dire need of toys. The merchants had said a 200% increase on the price of all toys. The diplomat had said Festive Keepers had only recently begun, and yet it already seemed like Zephon's idea was paying off. So the dwarves worked, mining and carving rocks into toys of all kinds, from forges to axes to anvils to figurines. Some were even encrusted with jewels that would gleam. And once the time came, the dwarves sold their toys to the most thankful of merchants, and sent them on their way down south to give the toys to all the good little boys and girls of the momentous realm. Why is everyone naked in the fucking tavern? I don't get it. Easem Gorge Blue, yep, naked goblin carrying a bunch of books. Just the denial, fact or fiction? How about you put on some clothes? This fortress, I tell you, you know. Gonna trade them all these toys. Even though it only applies for next year, I mean, we still have all these toys, so I think we might as well just sell them now. Because also we don't even have, like, anything else to sell. We've only been making toys. And some gems. They can have gems. Oh, great. A bunch of fucking polar bear people. I know polar bears are dangerous, but do you think their tribes people are dangerous? I mean, they don't really seem to be doing anything. Just sort of seem to be wandering the tundra, which, you know, I don't care. They can do what they want. I mean, maybe they can join in our tavern. We don't judge here. So long as they don't rip us limb from limb, sure. Do they want toys? I don't know if... Do we have any, like, bear toys? Like, chew toys? Or would that be offensive to give them, like, rope toys to chew on? But with all this production, the dwarves required more and more stone and gems to make into toys. So they began to dig ever deeper into the permafrost-ridden ground. They soon found a cave littered with gems so bright. So much haste they hadn't even thought of how odd it was that all the gems were surrounded by obsidian pillars, which seemed to hum to the very touch. It was during one of these mining trips when a dwarf cracked open an obsidian pillar to find Saslenna Burut, a twinkling metal scourge. A sign from above that their charity and good deeds must not have gone unnoticed by the gods above. The scourge would be given to Zephon, the most festive of all the festive beards, to hopefully scourge the world of Grinches and doer of evil deeds. The scourge would be placed in the general stockpile, because the dwarves were under the false impression that every visitor to the humble fort was of good heart. Not a single dwarf thought that the theft of such a valuable item was even a possibility. Oh, how naive they were. 'Twas the night before Udiz Alad, when all through the fortress not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse, except for one, a goblin thief so cunning that stole Saslenburut right underneath the dwarfs' beards. The dwarfs would wake up on such a joyous day to see that their God-given artifact was stolen. Some dwarfs cried, some dwarfs vowed revenge against the thief that stole an artifact so dear, but all thought that this was the worst Udizlad that maybe ever was. All hopes of celebrating were cut short. Not a single dwarf wanted to sing, dance, or make merry. However, the dwarves would have nary a moment to wallow in their self-pity, because they soon heard it, a sound almost like flapping, echoing up from the caves. The dwarves thought they hadn't seen a single creature in the caverns, except for the occasional tree hopper. But the beating of the wings grew ever nearer. Some dwarves began to grow concerned that what if it was a beast of some sort? The dwarfs decided to build a door and lock the caves off. The echoing of wings seemed to stop, but all seemed too quiet. The dwarf stood, waiting and waiting. Had the beast left? Lost interest, perhaps? Found somewhere else to attack? Except the dwarves forgot that they had dug a tunnel in the northern part of the tundra. The beast, however, did not forget such a tunnel. It had quickly clambered its way up through the tunnel and onto the snowy tundra. At first it was dazed, confused. It almost seemed lost. Was this perhaps the first time it had ever seen sun? However, the beast quickly regained its composure. It was known as Negethak Kolsish, a huge feathered, winged, emaciated crocodile. It is said that whenever it would shake its feathers, the dust that would come flying off would cause blisters and boils to appear wherever it landed. It was this, the beast that came looking to destroy Korzid Zuden. Negethak quickly slew the fort's herd of reindeer, using their blood and guts to paint the snow-white canvas of the tundra a bold crimson. After gorging itself upon the flesh of the reindeer, it quickly turned towards the fort, hungry and greedy for more than just deer flesh. The beast came flying down the fort's unprotected gate. Coming upon a lone goblin poet, it quickly slew the goblin, while also throwing its deadly dust all around the stockpile, and destroying the carefully stocked minecart full of toys, coating them in dust, making them unfit for any fun. The beast bellowed and scratched at the hatches, protecting the dwarves, its anger ever growing. The dwarves cynically thought of how useful a twinkling metal scourge would be right now. If only a goblin hadn't stolen it mere hours before the beast arrived. However, the dwarves were not ones to rest on their laurels. Oh no. They had a brilliant idea to collapse a section of the roof and crush the Grinch from down below without any bloodshed. However, the dwarves, in their haste to construct such a trap, they accidentally dug a channel into the side of the hallway, allowing passage for the croc to clamber up through and into the fortress. It was a brutal fight. Hordes of dwarves, goblins, civilians, poets, bards, animal caretakers, naked men. They were fighting with their fists, pickaxes, rocks, stones, whatever they had. Eventually, the beast was backed into a corner, and it could no longer withstand the onslaught of so many bodies fighting against it. Eventually, it succumbed to its wounds. However, it left many dead or wounded in its wake, some covered in boils, while others covered in scars. Worst of all, Zephon would pass away from his wounds. His festive spirit was destroyed by the Grinch. After the defeat of the croc, a lot of the visitors to the tavern left, not wanting to deal with the carnage. When they left, they wished the dwarves a swift recovery. However, many thought this would be the end of Festive Keepers. Only 7 residents of Festive Keepers remained. One of them, a child born the year prior. His name was Sarvash. He had seen so much carnage in his short life, but now he hoped, after this incident, he could live a peaceful life. Just what a mess. Like, look at all this. Oh, he's on the table. Good. I remember when this used to be a good fortress. Yep, he is dead. That's no longer no one's office or bedroom. You only have, well, 3 of dwarves. The rest are all fucking poets and bards. One of them's a baby. Yep, just look at all this carnage. And it looks like 2 of our dwarves are like stuck, probably badly injured, can't even move. Good. Well, I'll try to clean this up, see what I can do. However, my dear beardlings, when life comes at you, it comes at you hard. And shortly after, the dwarves just finished throwing the last of the corpse into the ice pit they just dug, and scraping the last of the dried blood off the floors, and mounting the corpse of Negethak in the tavern. A horrible fate would come once again. Emerging from the same hole Negethak crawled out of, a tribe of hostile lizardmen. It seems they had thought that Negethak killed all the dwarves, and the fort would be in ruin and easy for looting and scavenging. However, the dwarves were not all slain, and they would defend their fort and their toys to the very death. And despite the earlier hardships they had faced, not even weeks ago, the dwarves rallied around each other to defend their now weakened hold. It was a gruesome fight between that of dwarven stubbornness and lizardmen, dark cunning. One by one, the dwarves slew the cold-hearted beasts, hopefully sending a message that Festive Keepers was not over, no matter how many trials they faced. The dwarves cheered and hollered, for they had won. Surely, their tale would go on to live forever in the momentous realm. However, one such dwarf was not so lucky, and could not join in the celebrating. Poor Sarvesh. He was caught outside the fort and couldn't make it to safety. The lizardman chief slew the child with its wooden spear, leaving his body to freeze on the ice. The dwarfs would construct a memorial to all those who fell on that fateful day. As to what happened to the dwarves after that, I cannot say. For that was many moons ago, my dear beardlings. But that concludes the tale of Festive Keepers, the Good. Now you may be scratching your beard wondering, what was the moral of this story? Well, if you had to ask me, I guess that's if you ever go to a tundra called the Frost of Nooses, and you dig into the caverns with only a bunch of toy makers and no warriors, well, you better make sure you secure your caverns pretty good, otherwise a crocodile will come out and murder all your deer and then murder you. And then a bunch of lizardmen will try to pick up whatever left and also try to kill you. So, it's kind of like a, how would I say this? It's kind of like a very niche moral, I'd say. But hey, if you ever go into the Frost of Nooses, remember this. Otherwise, it may just happen to you. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this Christmas episode here. The second one I've done in a year, because I haven't uploaded in a year. But yeah, just a short little fortress, maybe some drawings. I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead. But yeah, I quite enjoyed this fortress, honestly. That's the first time I've ever been raided by cavern people, I guess, which apparently is something new. I've never seen it before. So honestly, I kind of did, breaking the fourth wall here. I did know about the giant crocodile underneath the fortress, and I did leave the hatch open. I was trying to make a story here, and I didn't have a lot of time, so I was kind of rushing it. But I knew about that, but I did not know about the fucking lizardmen who would come up and try to murder us. That was completely surprising, and I am very upset that Sarvis died. But well, anyway, thanks for watching.